I went to Wellesley, and there was always a very close relationship between Wellesley and Dartmouth, and I was very pleased when my daughter Anne came to Dartmouth. She loved it. I used to come and visit. I must say that when I first got here, kind of initially a little surprised at the dormitories and all the co-ed dormitories and various things. But Anne basically loved Dartmouth, and she became goalie of the women's ice hockey team. I would come up often and see games or see her somewhere else. And then I gave the commencement speech here, which is probably one of the most amazing settings of all time, I think, in terms of standing on the quadrangle and looking out. And then I've come up to teach, be invited for classes sometimes, and come and see some of my friends. And so it's a wonderful place to come. I have come sometimes. I think I was here during one New Hampshire primary. So there are a number of reasons to come up here. I just met with a terrific group of young students who asked great questions, and I think began to see something that some of my students that I have at Georgetown talk about, is they're operating in a very different world. And the necessity of understanding not only the specific situation in a country, but what the various influences are, and understanding that it's complicated, that some people in my generation have made life complicated for them. And my sense is from the questions that they want to be able to make a difference and are getting an incredibly good education in order to be able to do that. I think diplomacy has changed a lot as a result of technology generally. I always enjoy talking about the fact that when John Adams, for instance, went abroad to be ambassador, he was gone for a couple of years, negotiated treaties, and would come back. And ambassadors basically had the capability of operating on their own in many different ways. Now, as a result of technology, everybody is really connected, and everybody knows what everybody else is going. In terms of diplomacy, in some ways it has complicated things because there's so much information out there. And the 24/7 news cycle requires immediate answers. And sometimes diplomacy takes a little time in terms of incubating and simmering and becoming appropriate for action. Social media has complicated it. In many ways, it's opened up channels of communication that didn't exist before, and yet it's complicated them. And it's the same way, because what has happened is that everybody is a participant. And something will end up on social media that will probably affect decision-making without the decision-makers knowing where it actually came from. And it has kind of disaggregated a lot of voices. People take what is on internet as the God-given truth when it may not be. And so it's a question of sorting out the information. But on the whole, what it's done is provide connectivity so that in many ways we know much more about everybody than we ever knew before. But it's a different thing. Information is not new. That's always been there. But the rapidity of it and the technology that goes with it, I think, is what has changed diplomacy a lot and the international system a lot. I would hope that people would think that I actually represented this country well, that when I stood or sat behind a sign that said the United States, that I was doing my best to protect U.S. national interests, make the world more stable and fairer, not only protecting the United States and our values, but making a difference abroad. And I think there are many things that, obviously, as part of a team, which President Clinton led, we were able to make a difference. And the one that I'm proudest of is what we did in Kosovo. As a result of what NATO did, led by the United States, we were able to stop ethnic cleansing there. There are many people who are alive as a result of what the United States did. And supporting the independence of Kosovo now is something that is very important. It took a very long time. We used all kinds of diplomatic means. There had been work in the United Nations Security Council trying to get support for diplomacy, and then support actually for the use of force. And so I'm very proud of that. I love going to visit Kosovo. There's a whole generation of little girls whose first name is Madeleine. So I think that, and they thank the United States. They're really grateful to the United States and President Clinton for what we did.